Change Your POV podcast is about building confidence in your own beliefs, morals, and opinions while challenging yourself to be open, humble, and curious about things that you are unfamiliar with, don't have experience in, or straight up disagree with.
We will explore concepts and ideas that will challenge you physically, mentally, and spiritually. Personal introspection is among the greatest skill sets you will learn to hone. The foundation of your success is rooted in trust, gratitude, and forgiveness.
So join us as we explore things that we are unfamiliar with, strengthen things that we are, and are always challenging ourselves to become better.
Change Your POV podcast, where perspective is the vantage point of success.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm spectacular.
Yeah, good.
Good. Yeah, it is very chilly outside, I must say.
I bet it's colder there. I mean, it's not the worst here. But...
It's the kind of cold when you go outside and you breathe in your nose, you can like feel the nose hairs just crystallize.
So you're freaking cold. Well, let's look. Where are you? Do I still have you? Yeah, it's 23 there, dude. It's not
okay,
that cold.
That'll do it. I mean, it's not like polar ice cold, but it's
definitely... you're making it sound like it's in the teens or something.
It's cold,
It's
man.
21 here, so it's actually colder here.
Oh,
Here's the thing. I'm very acclimated, and I pride myself on the acclimatizing every year.
Yeah.
So
because you're out like walking in the
I walk
and...
at least once a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes twice, it depends.
Do you get all bundled up too?
I'm still wearing shorts.
Really?
Yeah, I'll walk in shorts.
Do you come back and your skin's like
freezing? Like, yeah.
Yes. That's
but
awesome.
at the end of the day, it's more comfortable than,
Yeah. Well, I've always said the coldest place I've ever been in my life is Korea, right? And I remember going on runs in the middle of the winter, and this was back when we had the old the gray sweatpants. Oh,
yeah, babe.
And the gray sweat top, whatever, zip up top.
Sweatpants, not the windbreaker shit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so we'd go running that. And of course, we'd have we'd get really cold. We'd wear a balaclava.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And gloves, carrying our red lens flashlight, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We'd come back, man, and as you breathe out your balaclava, your breath would freeze on the outside.
Yeah, right.
So when everybody comes back, everyone looks like they got like an icicle coming out the front of their face. It was cold, bro.
It's like that at drum.
Yeah.
I mean, plenty of times when we'd, they wouldn't let us. I think once it got below, I'm trying to remember what the temperature was where they wouldn't let us PT outside.
Really? In drum?
Yeah.
It got that cold?
Oh, well, negatives, man.
Yeah.
So the coldest that I ever was there was we were just doing a regular, like field problem.
Yeah.
And we actually got stranded.
Oh.
They called everyone in because it got too cold, but the trucks couldn't come pick us up because it was too cold. They couldn't get the truck started.
Yeah.
And it was that night, I think the ambient air temperature, not withstanding the wind chill, got down to negative 30 something.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
It was brutality.
You guys were spooning for sure.
No, well, it wasn't that bad because we actually had it was still cold, but we had one of the range buildings.
Yeah.
Had heat.
Oh.
So we were able, but even with the heater running full blast and all those bodies inside. So we had, it was like our platoon. Yeah, I think it was just our platoon.
Yeah.
And, we were our platoon in that building, and then there was another building that was bigger that had the rest of because it was the whole company was out there.
Right.
So good God, that was loud. I'm looking at the meter on the Audacity, and it's freaking loud. Mike's picking up everything today.
You're peaking.
Yeah, whatever. It sounds better. You know what, though? No, you know what, though? I find if I dial it back, sound as good on the final product.
Yeah.
Either way, even with the heater running full blast and like 30 people in that building, when you went inside, it was still like 34 degrees.
Jesus.
So just above freezing. Because it was just a steel building, you
right,
know?
it's just like a sheet metal kind of bit.
Yeah.
No,
so
no
it wasn't
insulation.
cold once you were in there, but you still had to wear like, you know, your some of your cold weather gear. But it was just the brown polypro shit and you know, all that. And then, but when you went outside, good Lord Jesus. when you spit, it literally would freeze in air.
In air.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. In air or when it hit the ground.
That's crazy.
But you could hear it. You could hear your spit freeze. It was crazy.
You're out there making piss sickles.
Oh yeah. No, because any skin that you exposed,
yeah,
bro.
Turning gray.
It was not that bad, but it was pretty freaking bad. It was cold. Thank God, though. Thank God for cold weather gear, man.
Yeah, man.
So I couldn't imagine that, like back in like World War II, where all you had was wool, like the Battle of the Bulge and that stuff.
Yeah,
bro.
I know.
Hell to the no. Or speaking of that, like with Hackworth and all that, in Korea and like Chosen.
Right. Those guys were hard as woodpecker lips, bro. Back in the
They
day.
had to be.
I don't care what. Yeah, man.
We talk about, and when they say, well, back in my day.
Yeah, you're like, yep.
Yep, I agree. I concur. Because if I'm dealing with this bullshit and you have like 1/10 of the gear. Yeah. You talk about acclimating.
Yeah, no shit. You're definitely paying homage to those boys. They just don't make them like they used to anymore. That's all I could tell you.
Did we say this on air? Like why I just said acclimating? Or was that before we started recording?
No, you said acclimating on air.
Okay, I just wasn't sure. No, I mean, did I say why? Did we say like because I wear shorts still?
Yeah,
walking?
shorty shorts.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Do you wear like normal shorts?
I don't wear stupid silkies. I don't wear those.
Come on, man.
Because nobody wants to see me in those, dude. Are you kidding me?
I do.
Negative.
For our listeners out there, if you want to see Bennett in a pair of silkies, let us know, and we'll get a picture and post it on Change Your POV.
Jesus Christ almighty. You may scar yourself for life.
Speaking of Change Your POV, so we were adding some things to the site little bit by little bit. I actually got on there for my first time. I'm new to Wix, Bennett, I got to tell you. So if I screw something up, I totally apologize.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
But I did. At the top of the website, I added 7-Day Resume. I put a link up there.
Yeah. Also, you can go to 7-Day Resume through our, like if you go to our Instagram, I also have it on our link tree.
Oh, nice.
So.
And it's really cool because somebody, I won't mention names, but somebody just recently enrolled in that this morning into 7-Day Resume. And so really quick, remember a couple episodes ago I was sharing with you that guy that that interviewed for the position that I had at work, right?
For sure.
So we ended up having a phone interview, I guess you want to call it. And at the very beginning of the phone interview, let me back up. So all the other phone interviews that I conducted, I had the other lady that works for me, she hopped on just as kind of an observer, just to kind of listen in and be part of the process, because part of my job as her manager is to develop her as a future leader of our organization. And, and that's one of the things that I do as a manager is I bring my directs along for the ride and let them be a part of that process. And not a lot of managers, in my experience, will afford that same opportunity to their directs, which, if I'm being honest, is actually a bad idea as a manager, because as a manager, it's our job to develop the up-and-coming, leaders of our organizations. So if you're a manager and you've got directs, I encourage you to include them in these processes. Bring them along to high-level meetings, bring them along to interviews, bring them along and listen in on phone interviews, and just let him be a part of the process. If nothing else, just have him listen in. But anyway, so I had the lady that works for me attend all the other phone interviews except for this one. I was like, listen, nothing against you, but I need to have this phone interview kind of solo on this when I have this conversation with this guy. And I kind of explained to her, he's an Army veteran, and I just really need to have a candid conversation with the guy, and I don't want it to be, it'll be awkward anyway for him probably, but I don't want it to be abnormally awkward by having you kind of just listening in in the background.
Yeah.
Right. And she's like, yep, totally understand. So I went ahead and had this phone interview with him. And at the very beginning of the phone interview, I was like, listen, because this guy, great resume, great experience, but it was in his interest and his expertise. It was all in in the creative space, like in marketing, photography, things like that. And he's had some really amazing opportunities to do some really amazing work for some really well-known organizations. And I was like, and the job that he was applying for, my position, did not align to his interests at all whatsoever. So at the very beginning of the interview, I just let him have it. I was like, bro, you're a veteran. I'm a veteran. I said, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't just come out and just be completely candid with you. Are you up for this? And he's like, yeah, man, give it to me. I was like, all right. And I just basically laid it out. I was like, I don't know why in the hell you're applying for this position. I said, you're a great candidate. I was like, but at the end of the day, man, this isn't where your passion is. And I just really kind of let him know that I dug into his background, his experience, looked at a lot of the work that he produced. And I was like, bro, if you get this job, you're going to be so bored and you're going to be unfulfilled. I said, it's not that I don't want to hire a veteran or you specifically. I would love to. I was like, but I don't want to do it for my own selfish reasons if you're not going to be satisfied in this position.
Right.
So for about the first 20 minutes, it was just a candid conversation back and forth about kind of what he wants in his life. And then we got into the traditional phone interview and the behavioral interview questions, things like that. And then I wanted to move him forward in the process, so I extended the invite to come do the in-person interview. And a day before the in-person interviews were to take place, he sent me a message in LinkedIn, and I'll read it. And he says, hey, Eddie, after hours of deliberation, I need to discontinue the interview process. This decision primarily stems from our This decision primarily stems from our initial phone call, specifically the first 20 minutes. Within this period, you candidly spoke of my creative background and questioning my overall happiness within the role. For brevity, over the past week and a half, for the first time in my life, my resume is attracting various creative marketing roles. Since our call, I have considered these new opportunities and the opportunity that you are providing. In short, I will be committing all my efforts to find the job that fosters both my creative and business education. And I responded and I said, total respect. Life is too short not to follow your heart and your passions. Now that you truly know what you want, it's up to you to stop at nothing and make it happen. Best of luck to you. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is when he first applied for the position, obviously I reviewed his resume, and it wasn't the worst resume I've ever seen.
Right.
But it definitely didn't do him any favors. So I ended up sending him 7-day resume, and he logged on to 7-day resume, and he completed the course basically and redrafted his resume in the in the guidance that I provided in the training. And that's why I find it interesting when he said my resume is attracting various creative marketing roles for the first time. So it just goes to show you that the number one goal of your resume is to drum up interest.
Yeah, it's to get your foot in the door.
Right, it's to get your interview, right? And his old resume was getting him interviews, but not in the positions that really interested him, because his resume wasn't speaking to his desired, to the type of work that he was actually interested in doing. So once he redrafted his resume and followed that guidance, boom, all of a sudden now he's actually getting interest from these creative spaces that he's really interested in. So it just goes to show you that you can have great experience, but if you don't have a way to articulate that in your resume, you're not going to get the interest that you're looking for in your prospective companies that you're looking to work for. So there you have it, 7-day resume. Go to the link tree on Instagram, or you can go to changeyourpov.com and click. It's free, by the way. It's a course I put together. I used to sell it for like $20 or something like that, but I was like, you know what, this information. There's a lot of information out there, and I don't want the veterans to feel like they've got to pay to become knowledgeable in something that's so important. So I just said, screw it. I'm just going to make it free for everybody. So it is free for everybody, whether you're a veteran or not. Just go and check it out. And I put it together in such a way where the modules kind of, one module will feed into the next in terms of your education of the process and walk you through. There's some like handouts and things you can print out and kind of go through and revamp your resume. It's a very I break down the resume like no other program I've ever seen, but I find it people that follow that process at the end result of their resume is something that they find a lot of success in. So there you have it.
Good stuff.
Use it or don't, but it's up to you. Don't complain if you can't find the right job because your resume sucks. That's on you.
Right.
And speaking of a website, you can also go on there and click on the link and buy us a coffee.
Buy us a coffee. Or, I actually, because what I'm doing right now is, as we speak, I'm kind of fiddling with, I had gone into the mobile version of ours.
Right.
And some of the buttons look like crap.
Yeah, that was probably my fault.
They were all twisted up. So now I've got them all the same font and... Yeah.
Awesome. Because I was struggling with that. I was messing around with the buttons, and I couldn't figure out how to get it all the right.
Yeah, there's just a learning curve like everything else.
I need to learn how to wiki. or Wix. Wix.
Yeah, a lot of people hate it. Wix doesn't have a good reputation necessarily, but not a bad one either. But remember, what's his name? We interviewed him. Marketing. I was going to say that marketing guru.
Christopher. Oh, Lockhead.
Lockhead.
Yeah.
Hates Wix.
Does he?
With a passion. He even says it on his show. He's like, "Yep." And this episode today is brought to us by I Hate Wix. Don't ever use them. Don't ever. Like seriously. Like really funny.
What does he use now? WordPress?
I have no idea. But his, yeah.
See, I find WordPress easier for some reason.
I do not.
And you do not, and vice versa. I mean, Wix is...
Well, it's because it's what you know. You taught yourself WordPress.
You're right, I did.
But there's like actual like coding involved sometimes with WordPress. And get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Sometimes, not a lot, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Wix, enough to be annoying.
Wix is definitely more of a plug and play, drop in kind of thing.
And that's how I roll.
Yeah, you're also a Mac user, and I'm a PC, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe
not. About Face, sir. Moving into our first segment, our book review About Face. This week, we are talking Chapter 8. They don't have cobwebs in Korea.
So
that's actually pretty funny. But go. I'll let you go ahead and start the chapter.
In Korea. We must get down to the essentials, make clear the real difficulties, and expunge the bunk. Complications and What the hell word is that? Ponderosities, complications and ponderosities. Never heard that word. I don't know about you. We must concentrate on registering in men's minds certain vital considerations instead of a mass of less important details. General George Catlett Marshall, so George Marshall, Assistant Commandant, Fort Benning, Georgia, 1927 to 1932.
Yeah, and leave it to a general officer to be using words like ponderosities.
Ponderosities. Because no one's ever used that word ever.
Right.
Ponderosities. I have a pretty good freaking vocabulary, and I have never heard that word.
It's like, hey, General, could you write a little bit something about this book I'm writing? Yeah, no problem. Let me pull out my thesaurus.
Let me pull out my... Holy Christ. I'm actually looking it up right now. So
ponderosities. Yeah. So there you go. Whew. Word of the day.
So that's a pretty good... It's kind of a cool tool that you can do within Kindle.
Yeah? What's that?
Is you can set it up so if you highlight a word...
Yeah?
The definition will pop up.
Oh, and you're reading this book on Kindle, I assume.
Well, right now I am.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
But that is not working right now, so never mind.
So ponderosities does not have a definition yet.
Not yet, but it will shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, good chapter, though.
Right.
So what does he mean by that? No cobwebs in Korea.
Yeah, so, all right, just to kind of break it down, he ended up, because he was battlefield commissioned, he never went to OCS, right? And so they're basically, the Korean War was starting to kind of look like it was going to wind down, and they're like, listen, the military was starting to downsize a little bit, and he was approached by some folks, some colonels and generals, and said, listen, Hackworth, you're battlefield commissioned. As the military starts to kind of wind down, they're going to start thinning out the herd and kind of getting rid of some folks. And part of the group of individuals that they were going to look to kind of separate from was officers that did not have OCS, so essentially battlefield commissioned, which is pretty sad because people that have been battlefield commissioned are probably going to be some of your best officers,
right?
Regardless
but that's not
of the fact.
Politically.
Right, exactly. So they're like, listen, officers that have never been through OCS and don't have a college degree, those guys are going to start, seeing the axe. So he was basically given orders to go to OCS at where was it? Benning Infantry. It was for infantry school. Is that at Benning?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yes, there it is. The U.S. Army Infantry School at Fort Benning was like a circus in the spring of 1952. So there he is. He finds himself at Fort Benning going through OCS, and I'm just going to read a little bit here. The company grade course should have been something on the order of an obedience school for the feral animals. Our class already had enough talent and combat knowledge to cadre a division, and within 6 weeks make it the strongest, finest unit in U.S. Army. What we needed was instruction on being an officer in a peacetime role. Things like protocol, administration, report writing, and which fork to use. However, we didn't get it. Instead, we were trained to 16 hours instruction of the M1, 16 hours on the BAR, 24 hours on the LMG, and so on, all taught by fresh-faced lieutenant combats whom the class's collective fruit salad would have had shitting for a year. It was ridiculous. It was like sitting Ernest Hemingway down and teaching him the alphabet. So it was a little wonder the old pros who had packed these weapons across Europe, the Pacific, and Korea became resentful. Then openly hostile. No wonder we all started looking toward the other side of the fence. the grass over there probably wasn't much greener, but it sure was a hell of a lot more fun. So basically, here he is in OCS, and he's expecting to learn all of the things that he doesn't already know. Like, he understands combat, tactics, weapons, maneuver, leading.
I mean, duh, right?
Right?
He's already been a leader in combat.
Right, and then he's been there, done that. He's looking for, like, the refined skill. As much as he probably didn't give a shit about him, he knew that that was going to be kind of the make or break. Being able to walk into an officers club and being able to actually hold his own medal with all the other legitimate officers, right? Not that his rank wasn't legitimate, but you know what I mean. So that's what he was looking for, and that's not what he got. He got a bunch of these,
He wanted
lieutenants.
the gentleman's course.
Yes. So now instead he's got all these lieutenants that are teaching these courses that have never seen combat a day in their life, teaching them. It would be like you or I going to the NFL and trying to teach NFL players how to play football.
Teach
It's like, what?
players that played football there. Yeah. Ugh.
So one of the things,
Typical
the reason
fucking
why
Army though. Seriously.
Exactly. So the reason this chapter got its name, they don't have cobwebs in Korea, is because one of the blocks of instruction that he took while he was in OCS was the the medical section, kind of to treat combat casualties kind of thing. And they were teaching him like all these things, like how to treat casualties on in combat on the battlefield. And of course, he's been on the battlefield. He's treated casualties, and he knows what works, what doesn't. And they're teaching him all this stuff. Like, one of the things that they taught him was, if you've got somebody that's bleeding on the battlefield, you can just wad up a bunch of cobwebs and stuff the cobwebs into the wound, because there's some properties in the cobweb that actually coagulates the blood and helps reduce bleeding or stops bleeding. Right. And so he ends up finding himself back in Korea, back in combat. And he's there with one of his, this is later in the chapter, he's there with one of his, actually it wasn't one of his soldiers, it was himself. He ended up getting wounded. And he remembers thinking to himself, he's got this wound, his blood's kind of oozing out, and there's not a cobweb in sight.
Right.
He's come to think of it, he's never seen a cobweb anywhere in Korea.
Cobweb anywhere in Korea.
Come to think of it, I don't ever remember seeing cobwebs in Korea either. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of one of those things where we spend a lot of time and effort and money, quite frankly, to teach people skills that are absolutely ridiculous and not even worth teaching. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been to many schools in the military, and we ended up learning a lot of things that just were not transferable or not applicable to like the reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolute insanity. It's just like the check the block course, right?
Yes, right.
And it's like, this is so stupid. Like, why are we here? What am I doing here? It's kind of how I felt at PLDC.
Right, yeah, same thing. Right.
Because, Jesus. I had already been, so when I went to PLDC in the Army, I had already been through the Marine Corps version of PLDC. Like 6 years prior.
Oh, geez.
Right? And in the Marine Corps, they call it the corporal's course. Right?
Okay.
So it's what you do when you become a corporal. So I'm in PLDC here, and this was at Fort Drum.
Yeah.
I literally, every single, so you take a shit ton of written tests, right?
Sure.
You just do. Because you sit in classroom instruction all day long.
Right.
I swear to God, I was just trying not to fall asleep for 90% of it.
Yeah.
I didn't miss one question. I got a 100% on all of it.
Wow.
And the whole course. It was unbelievable.
Did you get honor grad?
Yeah, I did, actually. No, I did. Seriously. I was the honor grad of the of the
You go with your bad self.
Yeah, whatever. It's pretty funny though. Not one freaking question. I also did the land nav course in 21 minutes.
Damn. With your eyes closed, running
backwards. Yes. and I told so I made a bet with the cadre. I'm like, you have to buy me a case of beer if I do this in under, I think we had said an hour.
Yeah. And they're like, okay.
They were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and this is like a guy, like, yeah. I come trotting in 21 minutes.
Oh, geez.
And they're like, fuck you, bullshit. This is complete bullshit. And I was like, nope, here's my points. Check it out.
Damn.
And they were like, how in the fuck did you do this? And I was like, because I'm magic, Sergeant.
Magic.
That was my word. So, because I'm fucking magic.
He's like, great, now go back out on the course.
No, not at all.
And please, everyone up that's lost out there right now.
So they bought me a case of Yingling.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit. So what's the hardest course?
I mean, they didn't give it to me until I graduated.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
What was the hardest course that I attended?
Yeah.
Actually, it was a prep course. So it was the prep course for amphibious reconnaissance school.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was called RIP. It was the Reconnaissance Indoctrination Program.
Right.
And I don't know. I think RIP still exists, some sort of form of it.
Was it the hardest because mentally or physically?
Both.
Okay.
It's like I could imagine Buds is like for the SEALs.
Right.
It was like February in North Carolina, which is not warm. And it was like 2 months.
Wow.
And literally, we had a hell week in there where, oh my God, we were always getting our asses handed to us and kicked in the ocean, just doing everything, carrying logs everywhere. It's like some shit right out of a David Goggins book,
right.
You know? That's exactly what it was like. It was awful. I look back on it now and it was fun, but it was a suck fest. And you were just literally living. And so this was this was a month after I had taken the INDOC to get in. Mm-hmm. And then I can't remember how many people we started RIP with. Probably 30. Yeah, probably 30. Yeah. And half of them are gone by the time we were done.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the point of those.
Yeah,
courses, right?
I mean, even that, but like you even made it through the INDOC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then yeah, you just kind of got weeded out through there, even more. So I think we graduated with like 20, and then everybody that went through that made it through ARS. So
ARS is
Amphibious Reconnaissance School. It's no.
Oh, okay.
And that was Virginia. That was Virginia Beach.
Is that where you graduate and get your paddle that you lost?
No. But you get the MOS and stuff. Or at that time, you still didn't get it, I think. I don't remember. That was just like 30 years ago almost now. Jesus Christ.
God, you're old. Holy Jesus. So the hardest
I'm trying to
course.
think. This was 1993. So,
God, that's not 3 years.
So I say 30. That's 20.
But still, that's 3 years before I graduated high school, bro.
So that's
I was like
20.
I was like a freshman in high school.
27 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
I just remember the suck. I don't.
Yeah, 28 years ago.
A lot of the details are fuzzy as shit now, but.
Right.
I can remember like what we did. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
One of the worst things for me was water samples. That's what they called them.
Water samples that
so
you have to collect in your lungs.
So what we had, the setup out there, Camp Lejeune has a beach. It's called Onslow Beach, and at that time, Second Recon was there. We had these old like World War II squad bays that we lived in, right?
Yeah.
And the units, everything was in there. right? So we'd have like wall locker and secretary. Like that was how you set up your walls.
Yeah.
And your rack, right?
Yeah.
And it was definitely austere living conditions, but we were at the beach. So nobody gave a shit. It was pretty awesome, right?
Right.
And from the barracks, the beach, you couldn't see it because there was a big dune. Dunes, right? But it was literally 50 yards from the front door of the barracks to the beach. And then behind you was the intercoastal waterway. And the barracks sat right on the intercoastal.
Nice.
Like we had a beach. We had like a volleyball pit out there, which was our pit too, where we'd get our just smoked and the freaking hose. And it's the place of nightmares.
I now have pictures. I have pictures of Top Gun with Tom Cruise with his aviator glasses playing. That's what.
In the off time, it might have looked exactly like that.
Just like that?
No, not just like that, but not too far off, probably.
Right. Yeah.
But so it was about 50 yards from the beginning, or from the barracks to the surf.
Yeah.
Well, you'd hear the freaking instructors yell for water samples. And so what you had to do is you had to run, dive in. You couldn't like pussyfoot it, right?
Right.
You had to dive in. And again, it's February.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cold. We had a couple guys come down. It got hit hard with hypothermia and stuff, but there was no way around it. And we all knew it. And I swear I was hypothermic a few times, but just pounded through it somehow.
Yeah.
I so much of it's blurry. So, especially Hell Week, I don't really remember after day 3.
Because you're operating just.
You're just operating
instinct.
in pure just hell. You're
down at the animal level, just surviving.
Yeah, it's straight lizard brain takes over, man.
Right.
Your lizard monkey brain, whatever you want to call it. Your Abdullah Oblongata is running the freaking show. So you run out, dive in, a mouthful of salt water, which is just fucking awful. And then you have to run back the 40, 50 yards and spit it into a bucket.
Jesus.
And we had different lines on the inside of the bucket that they had made with like Sharpie.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I want the third fucking line.
You had to keep going back and forth to get the samples.
So, and there's at this and it was, there's a bucket per team, like boat crew. Yeah. So we were teams, they weren't boat crews. So like they say boat crew, and like the SEALs have boat crews, like boat crew 2 or boat crew 6. We were just teams. So we were team 3.
Okay.
And it was 5 of us on that team. And like some had, they would even them out and stuff. But at this point, there were, let's see, there was 4 teams of 5 at this point. So this was, awful, man. Just fucking diving in, mouthfuls of water. And the first team that got to the third line could basically take a break,
Right. Yeah.
And just like catch your breath, literally.
That's awful. Yeah, because you can't. You're running. That's hard. You have to breathe through your nose, right?
Yeah, and you're running in the sand.
Right.
Got to breathe through your nose because your mouth's full of salt water. Dudes are just puking everywhere. Just
accidentally
awful.
Swallow that. It's
babe. I have nightmares. Straight nightmares from that shit. I can't. The taste of salt water. It's not just from that, but the taste of salt water to this day just sends me into. I don't want to say it's like, oh, I'm triggered, but I'm triggered. I'm not gonna
breaking out in sweats. And shit.
Right. Get some flashback shit going down, and you're just like, oh my God, like you start getting anxious and
right.
My kids are like, what's wrong, Dad?
It's a little too salty. A
little too salty. I'm just gonna stay right here, kids. I don't want. I really could give a fuck about swimming in the ocean at this point.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Again, ever.
So my hardest course, not as sexy as of a course as you just described, but it was definitely hard, was this Scout Leaders course at Fort Knox.
You were like not
right.
You weren't you an E5 when you went?
Yeah, so
and
get
everyone
this,
else is E7 or above.
So this course, the Scout Leaders course, is specifically for 19 Deltas, and they're for platoon sergeants, so essentially your E7s, and platoon leaders and above, right? So this is like a high-level MOS-specific school. Oh, by the way, I was not that MOS, and I was just an E5 at the time. So I don't know how I got into this school.
Yeah, I just remember you told the story. And
yeah, so I was a 13 Fox forward observer, and we did support.
Let's call it what it's called.
Fisters.
Yeah,
we were Fisters. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the best porn name ever.
I was on a Colt. Most of my military career was spent on a Colt platoon, combat observation liaison team. It was essentially it was the brigade support. Because you got Fisters that supported the maneuver element, supported infantry or armored battalions, but the Colt platoons supported at the brigade level, and we were generally always attached to the brigade reconnaissance troop, right?
But let's be honest, you serve a reconnaissance purpose. So
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so you could be tasked with that.
Correct. Just like the scouts could be tasked with calling for fire, we could be tasked with, providing reconnaissance type activities. So it made sense to some degree that you'd send some Colts to this school. However, I didn't realize that this was this high level of a school, because most 19 Deltas, they've already gone through AIT, they've already gone through their own training and stuff. I went through a 13 Fox school at Fort Sill, but I never went through 19 Delta at Fort Knox. So here I am at this Scout Leaders course, which is like a high-level school, and I'm a 13 Fox Forward Observer E5. And I showed up, and the rest of the class is literally E7s and lieutenants, and they're all like platoon sergeants and platoon leaders of scout platoons throughout the Army.
And every one of them's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Even the cadre were like,
this is weird.
Let me check your orders again. Well, they saw me, I was just an E5, and they're like, this is kind of weird. But then they found out I wasn't even a 19 Delta, and they're like, okay, they're like, listen, they kind of pulled me aside and said, this is going to be probably outside your wheelhouse, and you're probably going to struggle a little bit. And they were right. It was definitely outside my wheelhouse, and I definitely struggled. So the way it worked, and the reason it was difficult, it wasn't physically demanding. It was a gentleman's course. Meaning everybody, all the students, regardless of the rank, we were all considered to be equal, right?
Right.
And the cadre were in charge. So if you're an E7 cadre, you could basically tell a lieutenant what to do, that kind of thing. But it was all, we did some PT in the morning, but it wasn't that kind of PT. We weren't running and jumping.
You weren't going to smoke people.
Right. No. So it was really just more of a academic course more than anything, and it was to up the level of your senior scouts, right? Your platoon leaders or platoon sergeants, really to up their game a little bit, and so let me tell you, man, it was brutal. So the way they do it is they would do course, you do blocks of instruction from like 9 in the morning, because you had PT in the morning. Everyone stayed at a hotel. You'd kind of
Christ.
Yeah, commute to the
stayed at a hotel.
Stayed at a hotel, and then
didn't even have you billeted.
No.
Oh,
it was like a total gentleman's
make
course.
sure you get downstairs for breakfast.
Yes.
Make sure you have your freaking continental breakfast before you come to
continental
school.
Breakfast every day.
The hell.
Yep. And then, so anyway, so we did this course, and the way they do it is they give you blocks of instruction throughout the day. The very next day, they would start the day with a written exam for the previous day's block of instruction. And if you passed, you were good. If you failed, you had to do mandatory evening study hall. And then the next day you had to retake the first exam, but you also had to take the exam from the day prior. And it would just build up and build up. And if you failed any exam 2 times in a row, then you're out of the you're out of the course, right? So without fail, I failed my first exam, which meant that I was backed up. So I was backed up, meaning that I always had to take the day prior exam plus the day before that's exam. And I knew that I had to focus on the 2-day prior, because if I failed it twice, I would be out. So I didn't pay as much attention to the most recent exam. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Because I had 2 shots at that, right? But what that meant was I was basically in mandatory study hall every night throughout this entire course. And let me tell you, and so I was done with study hall at night. I'd go back to my hotel room and I would study some more, literally till like 3 in the morning. Get up, do it again.
You were like, I am not fucking failing this.
Not failing,
because everyone expects this from me, and I am not doing it.
Exactly. And the whole time, as we're progressing through the course, little by little, you see, this sergeant first class packing up his shit and leaving the course. This lieutenant packing up his shit, leaving the course. Because as the courses went on, these guys were failing out.
And there's
right?
Eddie hanging on literally by his fingernails.
Yes, exactly. Oh, like, Jesus Christ. I had no idea what it was there, why it was even there, but I was like, I'm not failing this. And I literally had to learn. Like I said, this was an advanced school, so I had to not only learn the advanced techniques.
You had to learn all the basic shit too.
All of it.
All of it. Because a lot of that's just not basic Army knowledge. It's different.
Dude. This is like the there's like math that you need. Like for example.
Right. Well, you know what though? I mean, like this is not that different from what you do, understandably. But once you know. And you're really good at the basic stuff, you can filter the other shit out. And that's what you were doing.
So here's an example of something I didn't even know was a thing before I went into this course. So reconnaissance guys are expected to, you're out in front, right?
Yeah.
You're recon, you're out in front. And there's certain skill sets that you need to learn how to do. Like one of them is how to fell trees with explosive devices.
Yeah.
Right. And like in order to knock trees across, like bridges or roadways or things like that, to impede the advance of the enemy. Right.
But you have to do the math to know what kind of charge to use.
Exactly.
Right.
You had to know like the diameter of the tree.
We did that shit too. That was amazing.
Oh my God.
It was diameter so much fun,
of the tree. Right. And you have to blow. The idea is to blow the trees into like a herringbone or a wishbone formation across a roadway, and you had to take the diameter of the tree.
And it's not like you can move the tree if you fuck it up.
No, exactly. Yeah, so you needed a base charge at the base of the tree, but then you need what's called a kick charge up the top of the tree or close, up the tree a ways to blow the tree in the direction you want it to go. But the explosions had to be forceful enough to move the tree, but not so strong that it obliterated the tree, right?
For sure.
And it was all calculated by, and even though you use C4, everything was calculated based off of a pound of TNT.
Yeah.
So then you had to convert it because one pound of C4 equals. Oh my God, dude! I'm sitting there like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Because I really suck at math.
Yeah, right.
I know exactly what you're saying. So it's like I really sucked at math. So, but once you get it, you get it, and that's the key. Is something like that. There's a purpose for this,
right?
So even though it's algebra or calculus or whatever, trigonometry and geometry, right?
Yep.
And as long as I see a purpose for it, I can do that.
Then it was easy. Yeah, it's applied math, right?
Applied.
Same thing with blowing and embutments of bridges.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So there's steel bridges, with steel that's X thick, or you've got
concrete,
wood, reinforced concrete.
Right.
Yeah. So you had to know like where to place the charge and how much explosive power did you need to. Oh my God, dude, that was a lot. That was a lot, bro. I'm not even kidding you. It was so there was combat engineering that I had to learn. There was, different ways to, what do you call that? To like scout, or they use a different term for it, but basically how to maneuver both mounted and dismounted, and it was just so many things I never even knew before I went into this course. I had to learn from scratch, and the hardest was enemy. So obviously at the time we were learning the old Warsaw Pact military type of enemy formations, right?
You're always fighting the Russians.
Right, and so there was typically kind of like like a couple of vehicles. You had to identify what type of vehicles they were, and then what kind of formation that they were in, and that would tell you what type of enemy element that there was behind. You know what I mean? Because it was just, oh my God, dude, it was just unbelievably difficult. But I completed it, to say the least. I finished it, and it was one of those schools where I had probably one of the most what's the word? Senses of accomplishment, I guess, because it was so hard. I ended up going back and obviously completed the course, and they ended up sending somebody else, another Colt guy, to the next course, and they ended up failing out of the course. And when they came back, our brigade commander, basically, our brigade sergeant major's like, our battalion sergeant major's like, yep, that's it. We're not sending anybody else to the course, because they didn't want to send people to the course only for them to fail the course and come back, because then it's like a black eye on on the battalion, right? So lucky for me, I had the opportunity to go before whoever went after me went, because if he had gone before me and had failed out, I would have never had the opportunity to go, which would have sucked. But yeah, man. Sorry, I don't mean we totally got off.
Yeah,
on
we
tangent
totally.
on this one.
We totally got off on of David Hackworth's book there, but
yeah,
whatever.
we did.
Whatever. This is what happens, and you know what? It's our show. We can do whatever we want. Well, I mean, what we can say is the one person that was killed was a veteran.
Right. Well, so there was the Capitol Police guy that was killed, was a veteran.
Police officer,
and then
the woman, and the woman
17
shot.
Yeah, right.
She spent, was it 14 years?
17
Air Force.
Yeah.
Tragic shit. Just didn't need to happen.
Right.
All of it. And I'm not putting blame on the Capitol Police officer that shot her, who is on administrative leave at this point. Right. But I mean, I'm sorry. I said this yesterday, and people got pissed at me. But what do we always say in the military? Play stupid game, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, man.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And
these people were where they shouldn't have been, doing what they shouldn't have been doing, and I'm sorry.
And I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about this in the next segment, which, I don't know, maybe we're just segueing right into it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the last piece of news, military news, out of the American Military News article is a 7-foot fence is now going up around Capitol grounds, Army Secretary says. And I don't know if this is a temporary 7-foot fence as they get ready for the inauguration here coming up, or if this is going to become a permanent. And it's unfortunate because we keep talking about this on this show. We keep talking about overcorrection. Overcorrect over everything happens. One thing happens and we absolutely overcorrect the other direction, right? And so unfortunately, I have a feeling that before long, the Capitol building is going to look very similar to like a UN building.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? It's
and I know that they're saying it's for terrorist attacks, and a lot of people consider this a terrorist attack. But come on.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I get it. It was awful. It was should not have happened. Period. Right? But we are how many days since? 4 days. We're 4 days out, and everyone's making these snap decisions. The investigations haven't even been done, right? So people are being arrested, but at the end of the day, like, besides the tragedy of the two people getting killed, right? Then there were 3 others that had medical emergencies and died as well, right?
Right. Yeah, what does that mean? Medical.
Well, they could have had a heart attack. They could have had they could have got trampled and
you know, that's what I think happened.
Trampled, and then they got injuries from that, or had a heart attack from it. You know, whatever. Right. So a medical emergency. So they were injured. Well, I was watching a video yesterday of some guy. So you know the wall that literally looks like a ladder.
Yeah, right.
Some of these people were
climbing up. Yeah.
I watched somebody get all the way to the top, and then they fell. So that was like it's like a 15, 20 foot drop. Like if you don't land right, you're breaking something. Like you're gonna break a leg, you're breaking something. So it very well could have been something like that. Right. Maybe they fell and landed on their back. You know, you never know. So it hit their head. Oh my God.
Maybe somebody fell and landed on Jake's spear.
Oh my God, maybe. Q sent me. So one of these things is people, and we'll probably catch some flack because we have to make jokes about this stuff because you can't make this shit up.
No.
So this dude wearing the horned thing, what in the fuck are you doing, bro? He literally, there's pictures of him standing on top of the fucking like desk where the speaker does the business, right? I mean, like with his spear in one hand and whatever, you know, and it's like, so here's what I say. When you see that sense of hilarity, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
How serious do we take that, right? So at the end of the day, yes, things were broken. I think there were some the opportunistic stuff where stuff was stolen.
Right. Yeah.
I think, yes, classified information could have been compromised.
Well, that's
possibly.
what I'm saying. That guy that broke into Pelosi's, she's the 3rd ranked, right? So she's the 3rd. The Speaker of the House is the 3rd in succession of the presidency,
correct.
Right?
Yes.
And that guy breaks into the Speaker of the House. Now, that's neither here nor there. I can't stand Pelosi, but regardless, she's the Speaker of the House.
It doesn't matter,
right? And they break into her office, and they end up walking out of her office with documents. Now, my question is, how does she keep everything under lock and key?
Of course, if it's classified,
right?
She better. I mean, that's what the end of the day is. I mean, I remember being in the military. I would think it would be the same. You would think.
Or does she consider her office to be under lock? It's in my office, so
but
it's
still
safe enough.
Remember we had those special file cabinets, and that wasn't even.
Absolutely.
But that was just classified stuff. So top secret stuff, it's not in her fucking office, folks.
Well, I hope not.
Probably
still,
not.
I'm sure,
Probably
I'm sure
not.
There's some sensitive information.
I'm sure there is too.
People
but
had
again,
exposure to, right?
But again, I understand what you're saying, but unless the person knows what they're looking for, too.
Right. Yeah.
I just don't see it as it's a big deal. Yes, they shouldn't have been there. But at the end of the day, too, let's figure out what is happening. What did the top secret or sensitive information get pulled out? Did they make copies? Did they just outright take it? Mm-hmm. Number one. And then as the military goes, this is something else that I wanted to bring forth, as I was asked the question last night about the nuclear codes. And because Pelosi was up talking about this on making a press conference out of it, right? Talking about the nuclear codes. And I was like, just because the president has the nuclear codes doesn't mean that he can use those nuclear codes. There's fail-safes there that prevent him from doing it. Right? I mean,
exactly.
Absolutely. Like layers.
Right, exactly.
And he doesn't carry them. A military officer does.
Yep.
An armed military officer at that. So, I don't know, man. It's just, it's people getting all worked up. And yes, it's horrible what happened. Should not have happened, but yet don't give it more validity than it should. That's my argument. Calling it an insurrection, calling it a revolution, calling it a coup attempt is just you're taking language to another level that doesn't need to be used, in my opinion. So, just crazy. So we've got that article, 7-foot fence going up around the Capitol grounds. Army Secretary says at this time there was also, so this was published the 7th, so the next day. We also have a ton of National Guard there. Yeah. 6,200 from 6 different states. 1,000 of them came from New York. I know that for a fact. And these personnel and these security members will be in place for no less than 30 days. So as you stepped away, I was saying, in my opinion, again, we're using this, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Exactly.
They're
right.
using this as a political weapon now. And I don't, it's not okay. It's like to call it, because seriously, I think if you zoom back out and you realize what this was, right? It was not an insurrection. It was not a whatever, but then we talk about security, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, they were just letting people in. That's not true either. You literally had a couple hundred Capitol Police trying to hold off thousands of people.
Right.
What would have happened if those Capitol Police had opened fire? What kind of shitstorm would we have? And then to have this disingenuous information to say if it was Antifa or BLM, they would have opened fire? Come on. You're just fanning the flames of this bullshit.
Well, the other thing that they're doing is as identities are being uncovered as to who was there, a lot of organizations are actually firing the people that are being identified as being there. Like there was 2, my wife read this yesterday, there was 2 Seattle, Washington police officers that went to this thing, and I guess they're both either fired or they're both on suspension.
Again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, right. But some people would say, well, not everybody. There was thousands of. How many people did they say were there? Tens of thousands?
But that doesn't. It's how many people went into the Capitol?
Right. But
probably
that's what I'm saying.
Probably 1,000 or 2, maybe. But literally, you're talking about 1% of who was actually at that rally or protest or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Right.
So the estimates are somewhere between 200 and 500,000 people.
So where do you draw the line between people that were there that were exercising their First Amendment right and just being a supporter, and then those that were crossed the line into essentially terrorism?
Well,
right.
In essence, it's called. There's cameras everywhere, so this is going to take time. Yeah. Identify the people that were doing harm and doing bad things. And no, you're not going to get all of them. And I love how you hear, well, why weren't they arresting them on the spot? I was like, because right. You obviously don't know what the fuck you're talking about if you're asking a question like that.
Yeah.
Because if you arrest somebody, that means an officer then has to leave the line that they're protecting.
Yeah.
And take that person away.
Here's the thing, right?
It's like people don't understand security. They just don't.
So people that here's the thing, right? Unless you've been in a situation like that, you don't understand. Like for example, one day we were in Iraq, in Baghdad, and we used to do this. We would get what do you call that when they pray over the food? Kosher. So we'd get like these kosher frozen chickens.
In that country, it would be halal.
Yeah, well, we call it kosher.
Yeah, of course, but it's kind of the same.
We get like
different, but the same.
Yeah, we'd get like a couple hundred of these kosher frozen chickens, and we would go out and we would basically pass them out to the local populace, right? Well, we did that a couple of times just out of the back of our trucks and realized that it turned into chaos. So we were like, okay, let's do this different. So we went and got some concertina wire, and we went to like an open fielded area that was kind of in and amongst the residential area, and we put our trucks into like a semicircle and pointed out, and then we put concertina wire around, and we would make like an entry gate and an exit gate. And so people would kind of come through single file line and grab their frozen chicken and then exit. That was our strategy, right? That's what we were trying to do. And all of a sudden, as people started coming, they just started to bum rush. Some kids were literally pushed down on top of the concertina wire, and they were like using the kids' bodies to like step over the concertina wire in order to bum rush the inside of our perimeter. And they were just grabbing the frozen chickens like off the back of our trucks. And it turned very, very quickly into a mob type activity, right? And we're only talking maybe a couple hundred, and they were mostly women, children, and some men, but a couple hundred people. None of them were armed. None of them had horns or spears. None of them had riot gear,
right.
helmets, and it turned so chaotic, and we lost our ability to secure a perimeter. And we had loaded ammunition, we had Kevlar helmets, we had flak vests, we had all of that, and we lost control.
Of course, yes, because
we just hopped in our truck and we drove
you're
away.
You're literally talking about thousands of people, bum rushing these barricades, and you can see the police falling back too.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was chaos, right? And
absolutely.
But what's funny. So if people understood how this all worked, now should they have had more security? Probably. Even if they fortified the doors, they were breaking windows and entering the building through windows. Correct.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't. Yes. What do you do?
And
put bars up?
So my question is to critics of all of that: what would you have me do?
Right.
Would you have me start shooting everyone? Because I bet you if you started shooting everyone, then you yourself are going to hang.
Yeah,
in essence.
Exactly.
And you would be crucified by the media and by all the people that are pointing the fingers now. Because why would you shoot your fellow Americans like that? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it would be.
Right.
So it's like.
They're patriots, Bennett. They're patriots.
Yes. It is a situation that you cannot win.
Right.
And
I think the police knew that. If I were a police, I would have known that.
And to look at it like that and then spin it into some racial thing and spin it into what is happening and escalating the situation more than it even is at is just awful. I can't believe the shit that the media gets away with now. And I'm not blaming. I mean, that doesn't take any of the blame away from the people that did this. They need to be held accountable, right? They absolutely do.
Right.
But
so that kind of takes it right into, you're talking about the media. Does the media have any ownership in this? And we get into, this next topic that is really the topic of the week, and that's cancel culture, right? And so we've seen this.
And cancel culture we're trying to label this, but this is bigger. It's a cultural. Right. This is a cultural war at this point.
Yes. So you want to get into the battle cry of politically homeless?
Yeah. So this is my. I found this article, and it kind of spoke to me. Parts of it did, parts of it didn't. But I think it kind of. We're so polarized now.
Yeah.
Between left and right. That I've, and you've heard it a million times. We've never seen it this bad. I'm sure it has been, plenty of times.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just really bad for us because it's right now. It's our
we did
actual
fight a civil war.
Correct.
And I saw people at the Capitol. I saw pictures of people at the Capitol that actually had T-shirts on that said Civil War 2020.
And again,
or 2021 or whatever.
And again, we've both been in a real war. Trust me. Very few people want a real civil war. I don't. Are you kidding me?
No.
Could you imagine? But those people, maybe they do. But again, fringe elements. The right has their fringe elements. The left has their fringe elements. Then there's fringe elements that don't even take a side. They just prey upon the weak that they see. When they see an opportunity, they're opportunists. What the fuck do you think looting is?
Right?
Yep. Looting isn't political. Looting isn't, oh my God, so I'm a liberal and I'm going to go take a TV from Target today. That's not what causes that. That is opportunity presenting itself and people taking advantage of said opportunity. So in the security business, which I did, those that know me know that I have been in the security business for my whole fucking life, basically. As since I became an adult, that's the business I was in. Well, first it was the military, which is a different type of security. I was a police officer for a short time, realized, because here's the other thing, folks. Being a police officer in this day and age, you couldn't pay me enough.
No way. Not me neither.
And nope. Eddie's been a law enforcement officer before too. And you could not pay me enough because I'm not built for it. I'm not. I'm built to close with and destroy the enemy.
Yeah.
Or setting up a perimeter and holding ground.
Right.
I can do that very well. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not made for police work. I'm not. I'm just not. Kind of funny though, considering what I do now. Because I'm not in the security business anymore, folks. So,
right.
With that being said, I know what it takes to secure a place. I worked at nuclear plants for years. I've attacked plenty of nuclear plants. I have defended nuclear plants. Trust me, this is not as easy as it seems, folks. Okay? There's lots of variables. There's lots of things. The best laid plans never survive first contact.
Yep, that's right.
Trust me. And killing people is not as easy as you may think, especially if you're the one pulling the trigger. So how fucking dare you say we should have shot them? Are you fucking kidding me? Don't ever say that again unless you're the one holding the gun and pulling the trigger. You fucking psychopath. Seriously. I look at people that say shit like that. The only answer in my brain to who they are is they're a fucking psychopath. Mm-hmm. Or they have zero emotion. And more than likely, they're one of two people. They've never been there, or they've been there and they're fucking broken.
So
seriously, right?
Well, I got this meme, that picture that I sent you. It's of this kid that's like hiding underneath his bed, and his mom is kind of kneeling down, and she said, and the little says the army has come to recruit you after seeing your bravery on Facebook.
Correct. Right.
Right.
And there was another meme that I've posted before too. Is like it was one of the riots during the summer, right? Or mostly peaceful protests. Let's call it what the media says. That's the actual verbiage that they use. This was a mostly peaceful protest, and you know what? So was everything that happened on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Because again, the hypocrisy. I can't. You have confirmation bias. You have a biased brain. You just do. That's hard to break down. You lean one way or the other. This is what you have to do, and this is what our entire show and network is about, is figuring out how to not look at the world like that. Because if you do, how do you figure out life? You literally have half of the country that believes differently than you. You might even have more. It depends on how far on the spectrum you are.
Yeah.
How do you expect to survive? Well, how the fuck have you done it so far? How have you survived so far being so polarized? It's called civility. And
people thrive on that, though. People want conflict.
They do.
There are people out there that want riots. They want conflict.
But
they
why?
want mayhem.
But
they
why?
want it.
Why do they want it? Is it because they've never done anything in their fucking lives?
Could be.
I bet it's because you've never actually challenged yourself.
Right.
You've never done anything outside of your own skin. You've never. It's because you don't have those rites of passages anymore. You don't have all this bullshit that, there isn't like this overarching thing to go into service for something bigger than you. And I don't mean the military. Join the Peace Corps. Do something outside of yourself for other people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm talking out of my ass here. But my gut tells me it's because they don't have challenges in their life.
I agree.
Or they're just really passionate about Trump. Or they're really passionate about anti-Trump. Orange man bad. I mean, but seriously, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answers here, but that's one of those times, if you're really, if your whole being is I'm going to go storm the Capitol today over what's going on, come on, man. You may need to look in the mirror and really figure some shit out because wow. So, the battle cry of the politically homeless, which I believe is truly, once people settle the fuck down, go outside, take a big deep breath, look at the sky, and calm the fuck down.
Yeah. Seriously.
Because your bluster and bullshit doesn't get anyone anywhere. I feel very lecturing right now. But Jesus, man, I just don't get it. I don't. I mean, I do on certain levels. No, here's what it is. I can see. This is a skill that Eddie and I have both cultivated. I can see both sides of the coin.
Sure.
I can see both sides of this argument. I just don't agree with. I just don't agree with either of them.
And it's not. It's the thing. It's not hard to see both sides, but you have to be willing to see it.
Do it.
Right. You have to be willing to see it. You have to be willing.
I mean, if you live in a silo, of course, all you're going to hear and see is all the confirmation bias of that your position is right.
Right.
The right is bad. The right is bad. The left is bad. The left is bad. Q, fucking MAGA, all the shit, Antifa. If that's what you surround yourself with and you never look outside,
then that's all you're ever.
That's all you're gonna ever see, and all you're gonna ever see is it's like one of the descriptions I heard is great. You look at let's say you and I are at a protest in Portland, right?
Okay.
And we can sit there and we can see, and all we see tons of people, thousands of people, right? They're there, they're protesting because Black Lives Matter. They're protesting against the police. Most of the people that are there, literally, probably 95% of the people who are there are good people standing up for what they believe in.
Sure.
But it's that fringe part because the first row on the barricade, they're all Antifa.
Right.
And all they want to do is cause chaos. So what do you see? You see all the chaotic Antifa. You don't see the people behind them.
Right.
Right? You see people with the fist flags and the freaking all the scary stuff. It's all scary.
Yeah.
And
my God, the helmets and the battery. Yeah.
Right. All the shit with the umbrellas. That's one of the things. I went to a riot with an umbrella so I could stop the pepper balls. That's not war, folks.
Right.
It could be that's your version of war. Or you've played way too much Grand Theft Auto. But that's what the right, okay, what conservatives see, because you can't see past the Antifa. That literally the rest of those people, they don't want to fight you.
Well, so we talked about the horned guy, right? There's pictures of the horned guy that attended the Black Lives Matter rallies.
Yeah, but
right?
he wasn't. But yet he wasn't. Yeah, I don't know what that guy's deal is.
No, I'm just saying you've got a group
he was
of
at
people.
He was at both protests.
Right.
I don't know what his.
You got people that literally, a group of people that travel around from protest to protest, from one event to the next, because they want conflict. They want to fight. They want
whichever side they're on.
Right, and it doesn't matter. They don't care left, right, politics, society. They don't care about any of that. It's not about standing up for one's belief. They literally just want a fight. That's it. That's their agenda.
So then we look at the other side. You have the left, Democrats, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
They're looking at this protest in D.C., and all it takes is one Confederate flag.
Yeah.
To fly for some nincompoop to walk with a Confederate battle flag through the protesters, and that's what they see. Oh my God, they're all white nationalists.
Right. Exactly.
Would you guys fucking stop it? This is what I'm saying to both sides.
Yeah.
Stop it. This is not what it represents. And you know what? You fucking know it. You're lying to yourself, to other people, to the media. You're lying to everyone. If you believe that 50% of the people there are white nationalists, get the fuck out of here. Just like if you believe that everyone wants to freaking riot and pillage and loot that is at the Portland freaking protests, you're out of your fucking mind. The majority of the people there aren't those people. Stop it. Stop.
My favorite picture of the Capitol riot is of a guy holding a like a thin blue line flag, to support the
and then
flag.
Hitting a cop with it.
And he was at the barricade line screaming at like a line of cops. Like the hypocrisy is absolutely it just blows my mind, man. I just don't understand. I don't get it.
But we could analyze each one of these instances like psychologically.
Yeah.
Till the cows come home. This could be a 40-hour episode.
So talk to me about cancel culture.
All right. So here let me talk one thing about this battle cry for politically homeless. Okay, the politically homeless are people like me, frankly. I'm not a registered Republican. I'm not a registered Democrat. I am a right-leaning, I do right-lean of center, but mainly on fiscal policies. Social policies, I actually lean to the left.
Right.
All right. Again, you wouldn't do what I do if you didn't. Just saying. So, like millions of Americans, I'm exhausted, but I'm not tired from resisting or tired from screaming at a MAGA rally. I'm tired of the toxic tribalism, because that's what this is. Toxic tribalism infecting the very foundations of our democracy, staining our relationships, and poisoning our view of our fellow humans. That's what is happening. And the media just fuels it. Because what is the headline? What bleeds leads.
Yeah.
So that's it. Again, you have to choose the lenses that you look at the world through very carefully. And if you look through a lens that's on the left, I urge you to then go look through a lens that's on the right, and you will see how fucking crazy yet similar the two sides are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about this. Politically homeless, literally that's got to be half the country. I mean, probably more. It's probably 80% of the country, because you always have those. What in the military we're always like, you always have that 10%.
Yeah,
So, but
right.
it's 10% for both sides. So it's 10% of the left are fucking batshit crazy, or they lean towards the destructive stuff, right?
Yep.
Towards
Right.
and they're the ones feeling the whole cancel culture thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you have all the ones on the right, which are Q, MAGA, not even MAGA, but Q, the people that follow Q.
Yeah. Right.
It gets crazy. I mean, the conspiracy theory stories, wow. It gets out there, you know? I mean, even if some of it's real or whatever, and people will be like, they'll use instances like the Great Reset and things like this. They like, see, it's real. See, it's real. Everything that we've been talking about's real, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which just isn't the case. There's no clones walking around. Hillary's not a clone. She's not in jail. The person out there's actually her. She's not in jail, and they planted a clone. This is a real freaking story, folks. Like, people believe this shit. Okay?
Flat Earths.
And then in turn, you also have a lot of biblical shit mixed in with it. So
Right. Yeah.
you have
End
your
of
people.
times.
Yes,
Yeah.
you have your people on both sides that are crazy. They've always been there, though. The
Right.
problem is now, frankly, I think it's because the media is hurting so bad to remain where they're at and be that to make money, because their job is to make money, people. It's not
Right,
to inform
exactly.
you anymore.
No.
There is no such thing as journalism anymore. Very
Nope.
little. There are a few out there of people.
I don't know of any.
But they're not. The network is not a journalistic network.
Nope.
You have individual journalists who will tell you both sides. If you're not looking at it and they don't tell you both sides, they're giving you an opinion.
But impartial news does not make money, bro.
No, it doesn't, because
No.
what bleeds leads.
That's right. It's got to be. There has to be conflict. It's literally. It's Jerry Springer syndrome, bro.
Right.
There's got to be conflict. There's got to
Absolutely.
be a fight. There's, you know what I mean?
So 2016 was the breaking point, or at least a watershed moment, when the vilification of diverse opinion exploded. Trump versus Hillary forced everything into a binary and suddenly bipartisanship and moderation became radical positions to take. So what, in all actuality, what I am saying and what Eddie and I are preaching here, we're the fucking crazy people. Like, we're the outsiders saying, hey, can we have unity?
Right.
Because not even the president nor the president-elect are asking for it. They might
No.
say the word, but then everything they say after that is inflammatory. It's
Right.
insightful. And guess what, folks? It's both. Both sides are being insightful. Not just Trump, not just, Biden. They're both being insightful. So, again, you can't have, it's this equal justice. You got to look through the lenses. You can't see it from just one side or another, because that's not reality.
Right.
Now you are just voting out of habit, or God forbid, voting for your own interests. Every vote is considered a statement on your personal identity and worth. I literally had someone, a friend of mine that I've been friends with for a long time, who happens to be part of the LGBT community. They actually had the balls to say to me, if you vote for Trump, you're voting against me.
Really?
No, I am not. I'm not voting against you. You're my friend. I love you.
Right.
It's actually a family member. I love you. Like, I literally would put my life on the line for you. And you're telling me that my vote, if I vote for this person, is against you?
Right.
Wow. Couldn't you talk about dystopian?
Exactly right.
Like, wow.
Well,
We're
it's
so
because-
far off the reservation.
Well, it's because people make these correlation allegations, right? Like, this must correlate to that. If you do this, then it must mean this, this, and this.
Right, so-
because nothing can stand on its own anymore. Right?
What your value, who you are, what kind of world you want, whether or not you're a good person or an evil person, it all boils down to which lever you pull.
Wow.
Damn. your reasons. Damn your reasons. Your reasons don't matter.
Well, and not only that, but it's also implying that you are unable to change your mind down the road. Right.
But here's the other thing. Vote for the right person, or you are a fascist, a racist, a globalist, or a communist.
Wow.
That's where we're at, people.
Yeah. Right.
Seriously, think about that. It's gotten so bad at this point now, you have everyone that is saying, that's fighting against Trump, saying he's a fascist, but they're using fascistic techniques to do this. How do you not see this? Right? Mm-hmm. That's cancel culture shit. So we're moving that way. Politically disinterested citizens, like most people, because let's be honest, most people are politically disinterested because it takes work.
Yeah. It's hard to have your own opinion.
Yeah.
It's easier to to be a lemming and just follow.
The tribalism, right? Blue is good, red is bad. Red is bad. It's like I say, we're all Republicrats or Democrats. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's like it's all, you're all. And here's the thing, folks. You guys know this. We're voting for different sides of the same coin, right?
Yep.
You guys realize this, right? So disinterested citizens like me have increasingly been pulled off the sidelines and into this incredibly divisive political climate. Unwilling combatants in a battle fought among fiercely partisan tribes. Many are being bullied into involving themselves in the process because intolerance and shaming have become features of the American life. Bro, I can't even tell you what my social media feeds look like. It's insane. And I don't even have that many followers, but I'm pretty much called a racist almost every single day. Nice. I'm pretty much called a globalist every single day.
Yeah.
So I'm getting hit from both sides of this. It's unbelievable because I'm the one asking for everyone to calm down.
Because they want it all to
burn.
Pick a side. You have to pick a side.
I have to pick a side. So unwilling
you can't see things
combatants.
both ways. You can't, right? You can't be objective. There's no such thing as civil discourse. You must pick a side and fight for it fervently, or you don't really care about it.
Many are being bullied into involving themselves in the process because intolerance and shaming have become features of the American life. I just read that. So thanks in no small part to social media, the simple act of expressing your opinion, or even going so far as to ask questions, because heaven forbid we ask questions, has begun to negatively affect lives and literally destroy people, right? Yep. You may have once fancied yourself a good progressive, while also having the opinion that there are two genders, male or female. Or you may describe yourself as a staunch conservative, but tend to think racial targeting by police is a problem. Because probably it is, right? That's my opinion. Or the cardinal sin. You may have decided to vote for a candidate you felt better represented your concerns. Wow. Novel idea, right?
Yeah.
Once voicing on social media what you think are fairly normal, moderate views, you find out something you didn't know. You are the enemy. And not just the enemy, you're evil. You're evil.
Yep.
After 2016, chaotic impact on the culture took hold. Even mere opinion or vote became life or death in the fight for the survival of civilization. And you are either for civilization or you're against it. I mean, seriously, people.
That's such an all or nothing.
It is, but that's the
right?
way so many people feel.
Yeah.
The trouble is everyone believes they're on the right side of history and justifies abhorrent behavior in service of that belief. Families are divided. Extremes have become more extreme, and shades of gray are shunned. Expressions of nuance are mocked. Everyone moderate with a brain and anything to lose has largely gone silent. So you're not hearing our voices. People like me don't speak up. They don't, because they have something to lose, and they don't want to lose their businesses, or they don't want to whatever, because they'll get canceled.
Yep.
I get it too. I get it. I understand why the silent majority is uneasy. They're not wrong to worry about sharing their opinion on Facebook. It could cost them their livelihood, literally. Most people are just trying to raise their families and pay their bills and pine for the days when they only had to think about politics every few years. Now, millions of independent thinkers recently polled at almost 70% of the American population and labeled the exhausted majority. I totally agree. They are harboring intense feelings of political homelessness and ideological in isolation. And we know that the silent majority, that's what this is. The silent majority, because if they even bring anything up, one side or both is going to attack them and ask for them to lose their job, ask for them to whatever. So we can move right into the cancel culture part.
Yeah, so what is cancel culture? Everything to know about the toxic online trend. So this article was written by Brooke Cato.
Oh, but Brooke?
Yes.
So here's the thing. Like, you can't, you literally, there's people that will just be like, nope, can't listen to what she's saying. Oh my God, it's in the New York Post. You can't read it because it's too far right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But either way, keep going.
Yeah, so J.K. Rowling and Ellen DeGeneres are among the latest famous faces to find themselves trending and declares, quote, over, joining the hordes of celebrity casualties of cancel culture 2020. So Twitter users took to digital platform last month to condemn Harry Potter author Rowling for making anti-trans comments, along with denouncing singer-rapper Doja Cat's racist cat room post, and former Glee star Leah, is that how you say it? Leah Michaels, alleged mistreatment of co-stars. By July, the focus has lasered in on talk show host Degeneres, complete with a death hoax, and Killing Eve star Jodie Comer's rumored conservative boyfriend. But what does it really mean to get the hashtag RIP treatment? And will society ever declare it to be over? Cancel culture, a phenomenon of promoting the canceling of people, brands, and even shows and movies due to what some considers to be offensive or problematic remarks or ideologies. Is this, and a lot of people think, is this all new? Dr. Jill McCorkle, a professor of sociology and criminology at Villanova University, told the Post that roots of cancel culture have been present throughout human history.
Of course.
Society,
Duh.
right? This has been a thing forever. Societies have punished people for behaving outside of perceived social norms for centuries, she said. And this is just another variation. I mean, take the Salem witch trials. That's an example of a cancel culture, right? You take the Christian insurrection, cancel culture, right? You mean this is not a new thing. It's been presented differently now that we have social media and other tools. They're just different tools we have at our disposal, but the actual activity is really no different, right?
Yeah.
Cancel culture is an extension of our contemporary evolution of a much bolder set of social processes that we can see in the form of banishment, said the doctor. So over the last few years, the social media trend has gained momentum under the trend and new name placing celebrities, companies, and other media alike under the microscope of political correctness. Here's a brief rundown of who and what this online mob mentality rules and why bullheadedness, Jesus, can be problematic for open discourse, according to Dr. McCorkle. So the first thing that she talked about is this, quote, Twitter, do your thing, right? You've seen this before, I'm sure. The popular request among the platform's users actively encourages a person to be put under the microscope. Twitter's users are often known for their FBI-like investigative skills, digging up past dirt, old secrets, and discovering people's identities, and are now being utilized in the resurgence of cancel culture. Users are uncovering the identities of people expressing racist comments in viral videos, the most recent victim being Amy Cooper, 41, otherwise known as Central Park Karen. The video featured a white woman calling the police on a black man, Christian Cooper, no relation, 57, who requested
Karen.
Right, who requested her dog be put on a leash.
We had her husband on last week.
Yeah, right. Karen promptly told authorities an African-American man is threatening my life, all while seemingly strangling her dog. After the video racked up millions of views, she was fired from her investment firm job, temporarily forced to surrender her dog, and charged with one count of falsely reporting an incident in the third degree. The viral clip also spawned new hate crime legislation, right?
I mean, God.
Right? Celebrities are joining the cancel culture call to action, too. Actress, writer Sky Jackson, 18, who took to Twitter last month to expose a high school student featured in a viral video screaming racial slurs. She identified his name, prospective college, and Instagram handle. In the thread, her followers used it as an opportunity to expose other people's offensive posts, starting a chain of ultimate Twitter investigative work in the name of the canceling racists. Pop singer-songwriter Lana Del Rey, 35, experienced similar backlash after making comments about a fellow female recording artist, many of whom were of color. The collective canceling of someone even on the internet creates a sense of solidarity. This reinforces the feeling of togetherness and that, quote, we are a group. We don't tolerate that kind of behavior, end quote. So it's this mob mentality, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It reinforces, at a time of political division, a sense of shared solidarity, at least among the people who are doing the canceling, she said. It's psychologically intoxicating to feel part of a group and to feel part of something larger than yourself. Popular Twitter accounts like @YesYou'reRacist and @RacistOTW have become the pop culture racism watchdogs. They've made it a civic duty to scrutinize the actions of average people and public figures alike, shedding light on previously overlooked or unknown incidents. Now, am I saying that I believe racism to be a good thing or people should participate in acts of racism? No, I don't. But I don't know if going, like I said, this is just everything we're talking about today. It's like the extreme. It's like one side or the other at the extreme, right? Rebranding after backlash. Cancel culture, though it isn't exclusive to celebrities, companies and brands are under fire for racism imagery as well. After facing backlash for perpetrating racist stereotypes, the 130-year-old Aunt Jemima breakfast brand is getting a makeover. Similarly, Uncle Ben's and Mrs. Butterworth brands might be next. Recently, I saw where what was it? The Land O'Lakes butter that usually
they removed the Indian.
They removed the Indian, right? How American, right? Remove the Indian but keep the land.
Yeah, right.
Right. Popular vegan recipes creator formerly named Thug Kitchen also underwent a rebrand, revealing its new name as Bad Manners This goes on and on and on, and I just think that, man, it's so frustrating, bro. I just don't understand.
Well, so, I mean, and I think to understand a lot of what's happening and putting it in people's faces, what's actually happening, I think we kind of have to go back and forth between these two articles.
But that's the thing are they going too far, or is it right?
No, I think they're going too far. I mean, there is some stuff that's straight up racist, but it's not Uncle Ben's rice.
But some people would argue that it is.
And you know what? That's their opinion. This is where we live.
Aunt Jemima, right? I mean, even you take the Confederate statues in the South, right? Those were slave-holding leaders of our country. We should take all those down because
but
it symbolizes.
Here's my question to that then. If you want to take down the statue, I understand. But why do you want to take it down?
Because it represents something that I don't believe in.
So it's something that you don't believe in. Okay.
Right.
Now, I understand that, and I totally do. But I also am a student of history, and I feel like if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. That's my argument. Okay? With a lot of this stuff. Or, tear down the statue. It is what it is. It's a statue. All right? And if it is a celebration of whatever, or put up another monument behind it. To teach people why this is bad. Don't just say it's bad and tear it down.
Get rid of the Confederate flag then.
Well, they have.
No, completely abolish it.
Well,
not allowed to be.
Make it illegal to show it at all.
Right. I say we do that.
Yep.
And while we're at it, we should defund all of the police because they're all bad.
Yep. All bad.
Right?
So
but my point is this. We go to absolute extremes to overcorrect an injustice. That doesn't make it right. Doesn't right the wrong that was done.
Absolutely not. And this is part of what we were talking about earlier. Both sides of this argument demand totalitarian-like devotion.
Right.
To their ideas, to their ideology. And hear me correctly, folks. It's an ideology.
Yeah.
It's a religion. I mean, so one of the new terms that I've heard lately is calling the left the blue church because it's becoming a religion.
Yeah.
Seriously. Right. And if you're indifferent, apathetic, or nuanced in your approach to politics, you'll end up in this wasteland of the center, right? Tribeless, unprotected, and increasingly insulated.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. They're not alone. I mean, people are like that. So the other thing I want to bring up is the ideology of this totalitarian thing goes hand in hand with the way that communism manifests itself. Communism as a theory is basically utopia, right? Yeah, if you actually look at what communism strives to do is utopia. What ends up happening, though, is that it becomes Soviet Russia. It becomes China. Those are totalitarian societies and political systems where this is the only way. Everything else shall be shunned and destroyed. Right. We shall take away books. We shall take away statues. We shall take away anything that we don't like or don't agree with. None of that exists.
Yep.
We'll take it all away. That is what you are doing with cancel culture, with that line of thinking, because where does it stop? Where does it stop? I don't like dogs. No more dogs. I don't like cats. Right. We're going to get rid of all cats.
That's right.
I mean, there's a point when you have to have the idea that you can turn the channel. You can shut
you
the
know
shit
what?
off.
Maybe we should do away with the left-leaning and right-leaning news channels, and we should just have a state-run
Well, that has its
news,
own inherent problems.
right? Let's have a state-run news outlet. Only one message is being communicated across, so everyone's getting the same message. And what you end up with is
so totalitarian of you.
right. So right. That's what people don't realize.
But people think that
that's what they're asking for. That's
they think
what they
somehow
say.
that the government or that the power, because that's what they're doing. This higher power is going to somehow make everything fair and equitable, and that's just not reality.
No,
not at all.
That's crazy, man.
It is unfreaking believable. So I got one more thing I want to bring up. And I mean, of course, with this type of stuff, I'm not gonna sugarcoat any of it. But a lot of people believe that we're at war.
I think in a lot of ways we are.
I mean, we really are. It's not an actual. It's like a cold civil war, or it's like as somebody that I listen to pretty regularly, Tim Pool. He says that we are fighting a fifth dimensional war, a fifth dimensional war, because we're not actually shooting with guns. It's fought with words, and it's who controls the institutions. And right now, frankly, the left controls the institutions. They control the message. They control the media. They control universities, by and large. They control schools. They control a lot. And if you think any differently, you're out. You're done. You're out.
Right.
Your whole life is over, because you actually said, actually, that's not the way it should work, or oh no, that's not. It's just like you shall think the same way that we think, or you are out, and that's what you're doing. It is absolutely what you're doing. So I'm going to read through this really quick on the Blue Church. So I just heard about this, calling it the Blue Church yesterday.
So who's the Blue Church's like leader? Like who's their Jesus?
Well, no, I'll read it. So the Blue Church, this is a religious mission, and they are the chosen ones. The tactics of the Blue Church are well known by now. They shame, ridicule, ostracize, and exile those who deem as enemies. Now, we say this, but there are factions on the right that do the exact same thing.
I was going to say, you could almost...
So they call it...
Church,
no, it is.
Right?
It could be either. There literally is. This is the fringes of both sides. I say the Blue Church because that's what it's been dubbed. But I can tell you that there are just as much of these beliefs on the right side as well. Yeah. So again, we're the people lost in the middle, and the people in the middle need to rise up and take the shit back, Yeah. So they shame, ridicule, ostracize, and exile those they deem as enemies. They do this through smears like racist, sexist, homophobe, and so on. But they've gone beyond just naming and shaming. They now use the power of technology and their monopolistic control on social media to silence their opponents. Deading, like literally banning any dissenting thing. They just take them off Twitter, take them off Facebook. I mean, literally tens of thousands of people's, like even moderate people, have been banned in the last few days from Twitter and Facebook.
Yep.
Financial companies banned their political opponents from banking and conducting financial transactions. So we have a friend, I don't know if Eddie knows, I'm not going to name the brand, but their Shopify account was canceled.
Really?
Because Shopify doesn't agree with what they sell, and they don't agree with their political views.
Wow.
So Shopify.
That's wow. This is a dangerous, slippery slope.
Oh, it's huge,
man.
and other places. Well, now just because so we talked about sandboxes yesterday.
Yeah.
Twitter and Facebook, they're private companies. You signed an agreement when you set your account.
Yep.
If they deem you, they're a private company, and if they deem you outside of their guidelines for community guidelines, they absolutely can shut your account down.
Right.
Without explanation, frankly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make it right? No. So what I say is create your own sandbox. You're playing in their sandbox. If they want to kick you the fuck out of their sandbox, they can.
Yeah.
Because it's their sandbox. So you go create your own sandbox. So a company has done this, and they created Parler. Well, now they've gone after Parler, urging Google and Apple, who have the largest app stores, to ban them from those platforms. Which again, still doesn't.
Amazon just banned Parler too.
Yeah. So it doesn't stop them, but it definitely marginalizes their ability to create reach.
Right.
But what they don't understand is them doing that fuels this resentment from the other side.
Yeah.
And it's just an absolute path to destruction. So let me finish reading. Yeah, and banks won't do business with some of these companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the church, I'm not going to call it the Blue Church anymore, it's the church, through its alliance with the resistance, doxes people, sends the police to their homes, and strives to get the people fired from their jobs. They want to end all possibilities for their enemies to communicate, associate, conduct normal day-to-day business, or earn a living. Even earn a living. Complete exile and social assassination is the goal. The church took a scorched earth policy. Scorched earth policy, I love that. And the earth is now scorched. It's just... And then you have this other side that is basically an insurgency that rose in response to this, right? And they use the same tactics against them. And so now you have these two freaking factions fighting, duking it out, and we're all just caught in the middle.
It's like that meme that you sent me with the different segments of the United States broken up by the Hunger Game. What's it called?
Yes. So the Hunger Game districts.
Yeah.
So this dystopian future, like movies, like you have the Hunger Games and stuff. Hey, folks, I'm not going to lie. This is where this type of shit ends.
Yes.
You end up in this type of stuff. You end up with the Hunger Games. You end up with Ascension and what was the other two movies in that group. You end up with Maze Runner. You end up with Handmaid's Tale. Because let me tell you, so this is something I didn't talk about with this, but the attack on toxic masculinity and that the patriarchy is the enemy over everything because men are bad. The way you men do things is bad, right? So this attack on masculinity in our culture, that is absolutely happening.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's seen as all the problems arose because we lived in this patriarchy.
Right.
Right? That's what caused Handmaid's Tale.
Just a side note, wearing a kilt is still considered masculine, by the way.
Oh, great. Good. I have a couple kilts.
Right, exactly. No, but this is scary, man. I think this is everything that you're talking about. People, I just don't know if they live in the here and the now, and they want, the right injustices.
All this stuff has historical precedent.
It does, and it's leading down a path that is not going to be good for anyone.
I urge everyone to go do some history digging and some reading on the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Civil War in America, basically any revolution throughout history. I swear to you, man. It's like
The
it's
Spanish Inquisition.
yeah,
It's all. I'm telling you,
all the
man.
same. It all comes from the same place, and
Yep.
this is why we have the Constitution that we have. This is why the founding fathers. See, look. Oh my God, you can't say fathers.
Right.
The founding fathers. We actually set up the country the way we did to prevent what's happening from happening. That's why it is set up this way. If you would just read and educate yourself, your professors, your teachers, they're probably not teaching you exactly what you should. They're teaching you their interpretation of these. So at least go read the stuff and create your own opinion.
Right.
Use critical thinking, folks, because, oh my God, heaven forbid we actually think critically.
So what you're saying is if the college that your kids attend are being financed by left-leaning financiers, your kids are probably going to learn concepts that are probably left-leaning. And same can be said about
absolutely,
the right.
You see it happen.
Right?
You see it happen.
Right. So I guess
I've seen it with my own children.
People need to start thinking for themselves, right?
They don't teach that anymore. They teach hive mind.
Hive mind. Yeah. You need to start thinking.
We're not bees, folks. We're not. We're not bees. We are tribal. We are tribal by nature. We are community. And there's individuals in a community. We are a country of individuals, everyone. And different strokes for different folks. People think differently. You don't have to all think the same. That's what's glorious about this thing. This is what stimulates growth and understanding and innovation, is having, I mean, Jesus Christ, folks. Do you really want to end up living in Soviet Russia? That type of framework where they literally have nothing and all their technology blows compared to what we have. The reason that we have what we have is because we have the ability to innovate and think freely. And you're trying to take it away. The powers that be, I don't know. It's not like, there's the emperor, people will be like, George Soros is the emperor. It's take the freaking Star Wars analogy. Jesus Christ, so many movies, they just lay it out there. That is what's fucking happening here, people. You can't let it happen. It's like I said to my friend last night. We had a nice, long political debate because she is the opposite side of me. But what's funny is we actually agree on 90% of stuff.
As do most people in the world.
And people are fighting over the 10%, the scraps, the bullshit, the absolute bullshit. When it comes down to it, it's just unbelievable. Sit and have a conversation with someone, not about politics, about life and about the world. It's like children are not racist inherently. They'll go up and talk to white kids. Will talk to black kids. Black kids will talk to brown kids. Brown kids will talk to yellow kids, right?
Right.
Because they don't give a fuck. Why do you care so much now?
Right.
Why as an adult do you care so much when humans are humans and you just go up and you talk to them? It doesn't matter what they're, what badge they're wearing or what freaking political, oh my God, he's got a red hat on. This is like the Bloods and the Crips, man. Literally, you're shooting someone because they have a red bandana hanging out of their fucking pocket. How asinine is that?
Yep. That's what's happening.
Because that's what's happening. And if you don't see it that way, wake the fuck up and start looking at it that way, because that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. This is turning into a gang war.
Yep.
This is turning it. And you know what? In a generation, 2 generations, if it keeps going, people won't even know what the fuck they're fighting over anymore.
Right.
Stop it. Stop it now. Stop the madness. Stop the conspiracy theories. Stop the fucking all the bullshit. It truly, frankly, a lot of it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's nuanced bullshit that doesn't affect your life at all.
Good news is I saw a picture of the some of the Capitol riots there, and it looks like Nicolas Cage was successful in extricating the Constitution finally
so
out
it's
of the
safe.
Capitol.
It's safe.
It's safe now.
Him and John Voight. National treasure. That was a great meme when you sent that to me.
It was. I was like, yes.
That's amazing.
So good discussion, my friend.
It's more of a lecture, unfortunately.
Eventually I hope we can get to the point where, some of our topics can be about something other than, but right now it is what it is, because this is the world that we're living in today, and we have to discuss it, right? Because if you were like us and you are among the majority where you don't agree with either extreme left or extreme right, and you're just remaining quiet and just letting it happen, you're part of the problem, right?
Yep.
And I think that's where I'm at right now. Like I've stayed out of it. And now I'm like, you know what? Screw that shit. I'm tired of the bullshit that the extreme left is doing. I'm tired of the bullshit the extreme right's doing. And it's time that we have to that all has to stop, man.
Yeah,
it just has to stop.
Cooler heads have to prevail. But right now, it's so inflammatory. Literally,
right.
The people we've elected to lead us are just fueling the fires, man.
Well, and that's the thing everyone's like, well, I blame Trump for everything that happened at the Capitol. Now, do I think he had a lot to do with, kind of inciting that and kicking that off? Probably.
No,
but
that's true. But at the end of the day, individuals did it.
Right. But that's the thing. Everyone has to quit pawning their actions off of one person. You got to start taking ownership and responsibility for your own actions.
What a novel idea. Extreme ownership in your own life.
That's right.
It's a Jocko Willink book.
That's right.
It's a T-shirt if I've ever
heard yeah.
one. Heaven forbid you actually look in the mirror and take responsibility for what you've done. Nope. Exactly. I'm going to blame Trump. I'm going to blame Biden. Well, good thing is, what's today's date? And this is a meme that's hysterical, because in 10 days, everything becomes Biden's fault. At least for the right, it does. Because everyone will still blame, Trump. My mom and I had this conversation. And I said, yep, at least in 11 days, I get to blame Biden for everything. And and again, let's have a sense of humor about this, because that shit's funny, folks. When I say that, I think it's fucking funny. Do you not think that's funny?
I do. I think it's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but I actually said that to my mom, and she went full freaking blue church on me. I was like, Mom, are you serious right now? She's like, well, he's going to inherit all of Trump's bullshit. And I was like, oh my God, can we just stop? I yelled at her. Then I yelled at her. I was like, enough of this bullshit.
But the first 3 years of Trump's administration, it was all the bad things that he had inherited from his predecessor, right?
But see,
so that's it's just this perpetual, I inherited this mess,
perpetual
and don't blame
wheel.
Me. Yes.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. It's and both sides, you just can't shut the fuck up.
Right.
And live through life and go, well, I don't really agree with that, but Well,
you talked about it earlier this show, and we're now moving into our archive episode spotlight. And this week we're highlighting episode 92, 10 ways we can create a rite of passage in modern times.
Yes.
Let's take a listen. To kind of give everybody the right frame of mind when we're talking about, because we're going to talk about several either historical rites of passage or at least or rites of passage that are currently being done by different people, different cultures today. But before we do that, I want to really, besides the fact that they're really interesting and some are actually crazy, they're crazy to us, but if you lived in that culture, they would be
completely normal.
Right. So here's the psychology, and I found this, and I forgive me, I failed to write down the name of the doctor that wrote about this different mentality of rites of passage. So there's really two schools of thought here, where there's two positions that you will go from your current state to your future state. And so the current state is the boy psychology, and let's go through each of these, and this is the psychology that a boy has. And then when I'm done reading this list, I'm going to go into the healthy man psychology and why going from a boy to a man is so important, because we have a different way of seeing ourselves and seeing the world around us. So a boy psychology has a thought of, I seek acknowledgement, right? As a boy, we want to be acknowledged for what we do, and we're always
look at me,
seeking
look
that.
at me.
Right, and you can see that in today's youth, right? You see it all over social media. You can see it when you go down to the mall, right? It's always about, when we call our kids, when our kids go through these different phases, we call them fads, right? Oh, it's just a fad. It's just a fad. Our children go through different fads or phases in their life in the attempt to seek acknowledgement, and that's why they're doing it. Another school of thought is, I want it all for me. Very selfish way of being, right? What's in it for me? What about me? It's always me, me, me. The next one is, power is for my benefit, right? So you want to be the most popular kid in school. You want to be picked first for the kickball team. You want to be chosen for class president. You want that first chair, in your band, for example. So those are the mentalities. Power is for my benefit. Next one is, I am the creator of the universe, right? There's nothing that anybody can say or do that would trump what you already believe about your existence and your surroundings and your environment. That's why, as adults, we oftentimes get into these useless, fruitless arguments with our kids, and we're trying to, what do we always say? We're trying to talk sense into them, right? But in their perspective, in their world, they are the center of their universe. The next is, I believe I'm immortal. Now, we can watch hours and hours of YouTube videos of kids doing stupid things. Hell, we did those stupid things when we were that age too. I remember doing all kinds of really stupid things. I look back on them now and I'm like, damn, I can't believe, one, I did those things, and two, my parents allowed it, or 9 times out of 10, they didn't know about it, right? But kids believe that they're immortal. Next, I take no responsibility for my actions. Everything is somebody else's fault, and there's always a reason. Other than my own reason, there is a different reason why that happened, right? So if you don't get picked first for that kickball team, it's somebody else's reason. It has nothing to do with the fact that you're probably no good, right? You didn't get picked first on that basketball team. It has no bearing on the fact that you're 4'0", right? There's always some other reason why something happened, and we don't take responsibility for our own actions as a boy. And then the last one, I want a mother, right? So that's that boy psychology. Now let's transition into the healthy man psychology. So listen to the differences here between what I just read and the man's psychology. And I say healthy man psychology because there's a lot of grown men out there that still have that boy psychology, right?
They
and
act like boys, for sure.
Yes, exactly.
I'll talk a little bit more about this whenever you're done with this list, too.
Okay, so there you have it. That was a long time ago.
It was, but we talked about making men better men.
Right. And it's amazing to me how our culture really lacks in that, right? We really do.
We don't have one.
Right.
Not
so you
really.
have to create it. If you've got children, and I think rites of passage is important, not just in young men's lives, but also young women's lives. I think a rite of passage in some form or fashion is imperative to help young people grow into adults and be a part of a culture that can think about things in a...
It's oppressive, Eddie.
Yes.
Stop oppressing me.
I know. I'm sorry.
Stop oppressing me with your ritualistic bullshit.
That's it.
Because
I'm canceling
I
you.
can't even do it. I just can't deal with it anymore. It's so racist and bigoted, and I can't believe that you actually want to do those things. It's unbelievable. Like,
Unbelievable.
Fucking what?
If you've got some ideas of how you've created different rites of passage for your kids, would love to hear about them. You can check it out. You can message us over on LinkedIn, Facebook,
everywhere,
Twitter, everywhere.
Hey, guess what?
Instagram.
Parler.
Well, for
Rumble,
now, I don't know,
YouTube.
we haven't been. We haven't been canceled on any platform yet, but it's a matter of time.
It might just happen after this episode. Let's be honest.
I've
been waiting
everything.
because of what we talked about like the week before last. Like I was like, oh, YouTube's totally going to ban this. But they haven't. It's because you know why? Because we're too small.
Right.
That's it.
Well, it's just a matter of time. They'll catch up to it and they'll be like, oh, look at these guys that slipped through the cracks.
Oh, these motherfuckers.
You're canceled.
Denied.
You're out of
Canceled.
Here. Sons of bitches.
We hate what you're saying. You suck so bad, and you are fucking demons. I swear to Christ. Can you guys please just go meditate and build some resiliency? Because I just can't. I don't like to use the term snowflake, but I swear to Christ, what else do you call it? Like, because as soon as the heat's brought, you fucking melt. I don't. Like, are you that non-resilient that you can't? I mean, words do matter, don't get me wrong. But, my God.
Yeah.
Context matters more.
I agree.
And, yeah, anyway, we could talk about this for hours and hours, but we're already like 2 hours and change.
We are. This was a longer one today.
But
Hope
this
you
is what we're here
that.
for. So
I wonder how many people actually made it through this entire episode. They're like,
probably none. Zero.
You and I
listen. We're going to listen to it, and that's it. And then I just take notes to critique my own bullshit. Again, I even self-reflect on my fucking podcast performance.
Well, there you go.
Jesus
How do you
Christ.
get better, right?
Yeah, that's how you get better, but, you know.
So
I'm going to cancel myself, I guess.
One of the pieces of feedback that I received from someone. Hold on one second.
I'm leaving. Hannah don't want to go.
Okay.
Call me when you're done.
Okay. So one of the pieces of feedback that I got the other day was someone that I work with mentioned how well I interview people, right? Because we just went through this round of interviews.
Right.
And we did a lot of phone interviews, and this person's like, I'm really kind of impressed with the way that you can interview people on the phone and you know, even the virtual interviews that we did. And I was like, well, I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of that has to do with the hundreds of episodes and hours that we put into podcasting. Seriously.
And actually interviewing people.
Right. So, I mean, it's a lesson. How do you get better at something? You get better at by doing it. And if you want to get better at self-reflection, the only way to do that is to self-reflect. You want to get better at seeing things from both sides? You can do that. How do you do that? You actually have to put yourself in a position where you're listening to people talk about things that you don't necessarily agree with, right?
Being able to check your emotions while you do that.
Right. Absolutely. Man, everything we're talking about here is easy to do, but man, it's simple, but
it
it's
ain't
not
easy, right? Again, we're the most cliche fucking show ever. Because it's so funny though that we've been doing this now for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And our message has not changed.
Right. It's the same thing. Well,
and we're still saying the same things. It's like people are like, okay, they're going to talk about getting along and they're going to talk about not being a douchebag and that you need to self-reflect. I've already listened to 300 episodes, okay? Cancel those bitches.
Cancel, bitch.
Fuck.
All right. Well, for now, we are canceling this episode right now, and we'll be back again next week.
Oh. Take care, folks.
Thank you for listening to Change Your Point of View podcast. Pull up a chair and get a seat at the table and be a part of the conversation. Connect with us over on Facebook at our closed Facebook group called Change Your POV Squad. Let us know what you think of the show, good, bad, or indifferent. We'd love to hear your thoughts.